afternoon. My name is Paul Candler and I am the Acting Governor, and of course I'm joined by the Premier, the Honourable Premier, and the Commissioner of Police. And the purpose of the press conference today is to update you and the public on developments since the very troubling incident last Friday involving a shooting, very sadly a fatality, at the Parade of Troops at the end of our Carnival week. So in a moment the Police Commissioner, the Premier, will say a few words, and then we will receive an update from the Police Commissioner, and then of course we are very happy to take the questions that you'll be asking us. I wanted to say a few things at the start. The shooting on Friday, as I said, involved very sadly a fatality, and our first thoughts are with the family of the deceased and the need to continue to respect the privacy of his family. It was a very troubling incident for many reasons, but I think particularly shocking that it happened in broad daylight and that it happened at the end of the week of festivities, which my first time in Anguilla for that week, and I was struck by how well it represented the spirit of Anguilla, the togetherness, the community, the care for one another that I think was demonstrated throughout the week. And so the incident on Friday was not only a violation of a life, but it was a violation, I think, of peace of mind for the community, and I think also a violation of the values of Anguilla. I think we can all agree there is no place in Anguilla for serious and violent crime, and we must together do everything possible to correct this trend and to reduce and eliminate this kind of incident from our island. And I'm sure the Premier and I are very happy to speak about the conversation that he and I had on Saturday at the National Security Council, when we talked again about how everybody needs to play their part in this effort. But we need to be more specific about the different roles we're each playing, and I, as the Governor, in discussion with the UK, thinking again about the support that can be offered to the Royal Anguilla Police Force as they lead the fight against this kind of deplorable criminality. The final thing I wanted to say at this point is to reiterate my full support for the Royal Anguilla Police Force. I think they did a very impressive job all week in their visibility, in their police work, in their keeping the community safe, all the way through the festivities. And I think under the new Police Commissioner, we are in a very good place to try and turn this around in Anguilla. But obviously Friday was a very deplorable event. We have to use that incident as the basis for a big new effort across the island to eliminate, as I say, this kind of serious violence, and I'm confident we can do so. So I will stop there and hand over to Premier.
Thank you, Governor. I want to say good afternoon to the press and media, good afternoon to the people of Anguilla, good afternoon to the Governor and the Commissioner. Certainly not the best occasion to be here at this press conference given the circumstances of last Friday. I too want to wish heartfelt condolences to the family of the deceased. I just want to say that we cannot tolerate this kind of tragedy anymore. This scourge of gun violence is one that will destroy our country if it continues, and certainly we must take meaningful action. The loss of our young men, the risk to innocent bystanders, the reputational harm to Anguilla, and these are concerns that we have. But just the disruption of our community, the peaceful ability to get together to have a cultural event, and this should not be marred by this type of action. And so certainly I want to say that this will require an all-society approach, and that is why yesterday we had a meeting with religious leaders, members from civil society, youth groups such as the Scouts, the Guides. We did invite the Pathfinders, but their director was off island. Members of government, leader of the opposition, we do know there's a select committee on gun violence that is going on right now in the House of Assembly. But certainly this, as I said, requires an all-society approach. And government is taking this very seriously. We cannot allow this type of activity to continue. We must do everything within our power. And that requires that we have to reach out to all the organizations. We have to invest in our young people, programs. We have to come up with ideas, things that they're passionate about, sports activities, mentorship, job availability. And so I want to pledge here that government is all in, and we need the help of the community at large, all the organizations, religious and civil, to help in this fight to rid our country of this scourge of gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Premier. Thank you, members of the press, for coming along today for this press briefing. I know there has been much speculation as to what happened on Friday, so I will give you the facts as I see them from the RAPF perspective. So at 5:57 p.m. on the 11th of August, we received reports of a shooting incident in the area south of the Carnival Village, close to the Fairplay Mall. Police were in the area, police heard the shots, police responded, police saw the suspect, pursued the suspect, challenged the suspect. When challenged, the suspect fired a number of shots at the police officer, and the police officer returned fire, wounding the suspect. The suspect was brought under control. A weapon was recovered at the scene. They received first aid before being transferred to the hospital for surgery. The suspect remains at the hospital under police guard until such times as they are medically fit to be released. They will then be brought into RAPF custody, interviewed in relation to the circumstances that took place on the 11th of August, and I would expect charges to be preferred against that individual, and that individual to be brought before the courts in due course. There was a post-incident procedure put in place to take care of the welfare of the officer, and our officers from our criminal investigation department are continuing inquiries into the shooting on the 11th of August. I've been very heartened by the response by many people across Anguilla in relation to helping us, providing us with mobile phone footage of the day. I would encourage people to keep bringing that forward, please, if you have it, and please share it with us. It will be an important part of the investigation. I've also been very heartened by people who have reached out to me and other officers with information in relation to the shooting on the 11th. So thank you for the cooperation of the people of Anguilla in helping us bring this person to justice, to keep the island safe. I'll perhaps talk about some stuff later when you have some questions, just as to what we are continuing to do to remove both weapons and people who are involved in this type of activity from our streets. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we're open for your questions.
I am Elkin Richardson. I'm representing Class FM Radio. And the question to you, Commissioner, could you share with us, if you care to, the age and the nationality of the suspect?
The suspect is in their 20s, all I will say at this stage is they are not from this island.
Was there any injuries sustained by the police?
Thankfully, only but by the grace of God, there were no injuries sustained. I'm very glad to say.
Sorry, James Farragon from ANGUILLA. Thank you, sir.
I know, Mr. Commissioner, you mentioned about the support from the public to the police. A few years ago, of course, when you were here as Commissioner, there was a discussion between the Social Security Board then and the then Commissioner of Police in assisting them financially and otherwise with providing some CTC cameras that would go a long way in aiding and assisting the police with the investigations and, of course, detection of crime. I'm not sure where we are with that now, and I believe that might be an area that you may want to consider, the support of the Social Security Board. The Premier is also the person responsible for Social Security, so that could be an avenue in which you can pursue, and with the help of the British government, of course, that could go a long way in helping us solving crimes and preventing crime.
So thank you very much for your suggestion. That forms part of a number of discussions I think we're having at different levels as to what is the best technology that can assist us in detecting and preventing criminality, but also keeping the people on Anguilla safe. So that does form part of ongoing discussions.
Can you give us any more information or any details on the exercise that took place on Sunday, where you retrieved ammunition and guns from?
So yes, you'll see we put out a Facebook post yesterday. From a reassurance point of view to the community in Anguilla, I want to be very clear that gun crime, the prevention of gun crime, is our number one focus on this island. I have said it before on a number of occasions. I and we in the RAPF can only do this in partnership with people on this island. I understand some of the issues, we have discussed some of the issues in the past, but I want to assure those who are watching and listening to this that we are committed to removing guns from this island. And if I look at the period from the 1st of July until the 15th of August, we have executed 15 warrants across the island. We have recovered 5 firearms, 40 rounds of ammunition. We have arrested 24 persons in relation to our inquiries, and we have charged 5 of those persons in relation to our inquiries. So there is a commitment from us to work with the community, to work with the government, to work with the Governor's office to make this island safe. I have on many occasions in the past talked about the online reporting portal, the 911/.gov.ai website. Just to reinforce, this is a confidential, it's not linked to police systems, it's not linked to government systems on the island. The servers are in California, so the information goes to California before it comes to us in a sanitized way. If you do not wish to leave your name or your details on that website, that is fine. But please use it to help us, to help this island rid the scourge of gun crime. It is tragic when someone is gunned down in broad daylight and loses their life. I really am appealing to all on this island to help us get on top of this problem and remove these weapons from our streets.
Commissioner, you said that the suspect is in his 20s and he's not from the island. Was he on the island for the summer festival?
Yes,
Okay. And what is the motive for the killing?
that's not clear yet.
Can you say which island he's from?
I could, but I won't at this stage.
Okay. In the publication on your Facebook page, you mentioned significant inroads that you have made on Sunday in the recovery of 2 firearms as well as ammunition and the arrest of 1 person. Last week Tuesday, you made a similar arrest in terms of 2 persons and 2 firearms. What was significant in Sunday's discovery versus last Tuesday's recovery?
The significant part for me on Sunday would have been the recovery of the rifle, which is a high-powered weapon, one that would cause me grave concern that those type of weapons are available on this island. So the difference between Sunday and the incident earlier in the week is the type and caliber of the weapon that we recovered. It undoubtedly makes Anguilla a much safer place.
What does it say about the level of firearms that you believe to be on the island in terms of guns on a whole are dangerous, but when you see this type of weapon, lethal weapon, I'm sure it says something.
Well, every firearm is potentially a lethal weapon. The difference between a handgun and the rifle is the penetrative power and the distance that the round is likely to travel, which makes it a much more dangerous weapon when it comes to members of the public than perhaps a lower caliber handgun. But I'm back to the every weapon is potentially lethal. When it comes to unlawful possession of firearms on this island, I don't have a number in my head. I know, because of what we continue to see, that weapons are brought onto this island. And the RAPF, in conjunction with Customs, will do all in their power to make sure that the border is as secure as it can be and that these weapons do not come onto this island. And again, I make an appeal to people who are listening to this. If you know, please tell it to me. If you know how weapons are coming onto this island, please tell us, because I will do something.
Any plans for gun amnesty? Do you think it will work?
I would like to do a gun amnesty. We have talked about minimum sentencing for unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, in that if you are caught, you will automatically go to jail for a determined period of time. I would be very, very supportive of that legislation. Very supportive of that legislation. And the sentencing guidelines that would come along with that. So the gun amnesty, I think that would be a very good precursor to that type of legislation and sentencing guidelines coming on stream, because it negates the defence of, oh well, if I'd been able to give it up, I wouldn't have had it. So I would be very keen to choreograph that with the potential change that may come in the future. I'm not saying I couldn't do it now. I've done the research. Gun amnesties have a mixed success. We just need to decide how we do it. That encourages people to give up the weapons. So there is a piece of work to be done to decide what is the best way, because I'm quite sure not everybody would be comfortable walking into the police station saying, there's a gun. So do we have secure drop areas on the island that allow people to drop weapons that they no longer feel should be in circulation? So there's a number of things that we need to look at. What is the best way? But yes, it's something in short I would want to do.
Mr. Cameron, you mentioned that you were in talks with your UK counterparts. What are the immediate needs are you looking at to assist the Royal Anguilla Police Force?
Well, we are looking at UK support, particularly in the areas of analysis and intelligence. So, as I said at the start, the Royal Anguilla Police Force under the Commissioner are doing, I think, a fantastic job. I think that the presence of armed officers last week at parades and at Juve and other events could not be criticised. I think it was very, very strong. There are, in a small police force, areas which need further support, and the capability of the RAPF needs developing, and I think the Commissioner fully agrees with that. So, as I said at the start, I think one of the things we need to do is we all work together to try and address this big issue of gun crime, which of course, as we all know, is not peculiar to Anguilla. It is a regional, international, global trend, is think through what each of us can do, focused specifically. And I think that in discussion with the Commissioner and in discussion with UK police, the areas where the RAPF could really use some urgent support is in the areas of analysis and in the areas of intelligence. And so we are bringing UK-trained senior police officers to Anguilla in the next few months to support the Commissioner's work there and to build up the capability and the capacity of the RAPF. So that's the short answer, but I think the theme I'm trying to get across is that we need to be forensic and specific in terms of the support that's offered to the RAPF and the Anguillan authorities generally.
Commissioner, I'm going back to Sunday's events. Again, it wasn't a typical day of activities on the island. It was a Sunday. What initiated the search, actually? Can you please tell us? Why was it such a... were you tipped off or something?
We always act and we seek to develop what we know on the island. And when we feel it is appropriate and the time is right, then we will put the strike in. So that's what happened on Sunday.
Random search then?
No, it wasn't random.
Lloyd Gunn from Lloyd's Life.
Yes.
You made mention earlier about working with customs. I have an online thing. It said we are scanning going to St. Martin, but why is there no scanning coming back to Anguilla in terms of bringing in your baggage?
I can't answer that because it's a customs issue. So it would be unfair of me to comment on that, but it's a very fair comment.
So, Commissioner, while on the question about the amnesty and the guns and the persons who possess them, I know over the years a number of persons, and you mentioned up to today, the number of persons have been caught with weapons, but do you think enough pressure is placed on these persons who are found in possession of these guns to see how they came in possession of these guns?
That's always an interview line for us when we're speaking to people that we have in custody as to where, when, and how did you get it. Whether that person decides to be fully cooperative or not. I understand that, but it is a line of inquiry that we always pursue
So
with anyone who's in custody.
Are you saying to me then that line has not been successful over the years? I'm getting that impression.
No, I'm not saying it's whether it's been successful or not. The point is when someone is in custody, there is the presumption of innocent until proven guilty. And whether that person decides they want to make a full and frank confession during an interview is up to the suspect that we have in. Not everyone does that.
No, I mean in terms of the fact that the person has been found in possession of a firearm. That has been established. There has to be some way in which this person came in possession of this firearm. So I'm wondering if the police is doing enough to ascertain how this person came.
Right. Now I understand the question better, so I apologise for my first answer to it. Without going into operational methodology of what we would do to trace that back, I can assure you there are a number of things that we do every time someone is brought in to try and work back where did the weapon come from. And for your reassurance, we work very closely with the French and the Dutch, both the customs and the police. We have monthly intelligence sharing meetings between the three law enforcement agencies on the two islands to make sure that we are as best informed into this subject and other subjects that might harm either of the islanders, so that we are in the best place to come forward and deal with them.
Any plans for a state-of-the-art Coast Guard vessel? I know over the years there were many at Senegal. I was part of the team at that time, but now there are none. And I had an interview with a former commissioner of police a few weeks ago, and he too is very alarmed to know that our borders are wide open, quote unquote, and there isn't a police boat.
We do have a police boat, we do. I have, since I have arrived, even though it's quite embryonic at the moment, have re-established a police presence on the water by utilising some of our previous marine trained officers. So without saying how many days a week I try and do it, it's out almost every week. We have a small mechanical issue at the moment, unfortunately, but we get that fixed fairly quickly. But the re-establishment of that marine unit is very important to me as a commissioner.
I want to direct my last question to Mr. Candela.
That's right.
Who is the acting governor. It is slightly out of line with what we're here for.
Okay.
Other than I know that it would be a press conference, so that's why I'm here. I am to ask you, sir, in 2020, I believe the public would be glad to hear your answer. In 2020, there was an incident involving an American tourist and a Dominican national who lost his life, and the matter went before the court. The gentleman was arrested and charged. He was charged for manslaughter. He was subsequently released, and there was a time set for him to return to Anguilla for trial. That time has passed, and the media was up in arms with the fact that he did not return. We learned later on that within the media sources, we should keep very quiet on that matter, because extradition treaties are being done between the British and the American government, I believe, to having this person comes to Anguilla for prosecution. And to date, I believe the public would be glad to hear from you, the top boss, as to what you could say to us, as if you know anything about this matter. And the gentleman name is Mr. Hapgood. You believe you got all the information. We would be glad to hear.
Sure. I mean, it isn't, of course, the subject of the press conference.
I know.
All I will say is that I know the process is working its way through, but it would be wrong of me to say any more because I need to be firm on the details. So I know that you're giving voice there to a real interest of the public of Anguilla. I completely understand that, but I don't think it would be fair on anyone for me to comment beyond that today.
And I would actually ask you not to comment any further on the basis of this is still a live investigation for us. I wouldn't like anything said here to prejudice any hearing at a later stage, either here in the United States, that would prevent this case being heard. But I can assure you the Hapgood case has not gone on.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner, since you've been here, you've been dealing with the scourge of gun violence. We had the horrendous death of Garland Brunaway. Any inroads making any success into that matter?
All I will say is that the inquiries are continuing at a pace I am content with. I've said at previous conferences, we are now into slower time methodology in respect of gathering evidence and bringing that together. We're using, again, a number of of agencies across the Caribbean to help us do that, in order that we hopefully can get the right result for the Garland family.
I just would like to, to add to Governor's statement about my confidence in the Commissioner Clark and the Royal Anguilla Police Force. I think that the Commissioner, upon his entry into Anguilla, has been, faced with this right from the first week, maybe even the first day. And so I think that he has shown that he is up to the task to make a difference, to decrease and hopefully to eliminate this type of crimes, gun violence and gun-related fatalities in Anguilla. Certainly the Commissioner has committed to us, community policing, increasing the capacity of and skill of the Royal Anguilla Police Force, border patrols, to make our borders less porous, and certainly enforcement. And I think that this has been demonstrated, and so on behalf of the government of Anguilla, I'd like to say that we have confidence that Commissioner and the Royal Anguilla Police Force are doing what is necessary. Certainly, Governor has mentioned about other capabilities that we're working on providing. Certainly, I know Mr. Richardson raised about closed-circuit TV and other methodologies. These are all being discussed, and certainly want to assure the people of Anguilla that we have a force that is up to the task. And certainly, there may be thoughts and words out there about the confidentiality issues. The Commissioner has talked about this website, www.gov.ai/911, and use it. And certainly, I think it is helpful for us as a people to have that confidence, because we want to live in a peaceful society, as Anguilla is known to be, tranquility wrapped in blue. We want to keep that, and so that is why I'm here saying that continue to work with the Royal Anguilla Police Force to help us to get back to that peace, stability, and tranquility that we are accustomed to, and people of Anguilla deserve that. And certainly, I want to say forcefully that we cannot tolerate gun violence or any violence of any kind, and we need to work with the police who are here to protect and serve.
Just before we go, I just want to direct one last question to the Commissioner, as relates to the number of persons who were brought into custody and persons who were being suspected or found with weapons. In any case, there were females involved, or was all males?
At this time, it's all males.
I also want to ask one last question.
Yes,
Can you
Mr.
please tell us exactly where the perpetrator at the Harry incident was apprehended? Exactly where?
He was apprehended probably within 50 to 100 yards of where the shooting took place.
You can specify where?
I don't really want to just at the moment, if you understand, but it was within very close proximity. It's not that I can't, it's just that I don't want to at this
Right.
stage.
Fair enough.
I would expect us probably a week later we'll do a reconstruction, and we'll ask for people who may have been in the area to see if us being there jogs any memories or anything of an evidential nature that might be able to help us. The police officer was, and I will put this in formal record, and I'm very proud of him. He was selfless. he was selfless in ensuring that this individual was detained. There was a clear and present danger to his life from that suspect, but he did not balk. He did his job, and we have the suspect in custody. And I'm eternally grateful to that officer for doing his job in the professional manner that he did.
But on behalf of the media too, I would like to commend him for his actions and protecting Anguilla. Thanks to you, sir.
Thank you. Any final questions from the public watching or colleagues in the room? In which case, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I know the Premier joins me and the Commissioner in committing to keeping the public updated as we can about last week's events, but also our collective work with the people of Anguilla to eradicate this awful scourge of gun crime and serious violence on the islands. But I hope today's press conference has reassured people as to the amount of work going on and our joint efforts to see things turn around. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.